Gentlemen, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard. Tim's not coming. No Tim.
Oh, Tim.
How are you?
Good, how you doing?
Maybe they actually call and say, is it?
Yeah, I was gonna sit there, but why won't we just make this for a coat? Just put your coat over.
Information regarding
Oh, you can sit here? Okay, yeah. You can put your coat on.
that. I get to see Scott.
I would never do that.
You're all.
Okay, the protection, that's that loud guy in the back, Scott. Yeah, really. Protection and Welfare Committee will come to order. We'll note Alderman Stoyer's president. Wow. Alderman Stoyer's president, Alderman Scannell, Alderman Weary. Alderman Dwayne did call, so he's excused. Can I have approval of the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second. Motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Stoyer. Any changes? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 3 is an approval of the minutes of
Move to
January
approve
12th.
the minutes.
Motion by Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Stoyer. Discussion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Number 4, application for a Class B combination license by Mary Besaw at 2148 University, transfer from Liam Lee, Inc. Attorney.
Thank you. The city attorney's office is recommending denial. Officer Bob Matheny is here to speak on that if the committee has any questions, but I did pass out a list of police calls that came from Buddha's Bar, which I believe is their prior location in De Pere, as well as the criminal record of Robert Younger, who I believe would be actually operating the business.
Captain?
We agree with the city attorney's assessment on not only the record, but on what's occurring at his previous employment right now in De Pere.
And I would encourage the committee to ask Officer Matheny any additional questions, because he was working primarily with them.
Should we hear from staff first? Officer Matheny?
Yeah.
You done with that?
Yes.
Please. Just need your name and then.
Robert Matheny. I've been a police officer for almost 26 years, 7 in Kenosha, and then the last little bit in Green Bay here.
Right.
On or about December 10th, Captain Laux got a hold of me and said that he had somebody fill out an application for a liquor license. It turns out it's Mary Besaw. So we ended up going through the business plan. I ended up getting in contact with Robert Younger. Mary and I had a couple of conversations on the phone, and what it turned out was there's a couple of things that stand out. Number one, they're violating federal and state law by the way that they're going about getting the liquor license. You can't have somebody apply for a liquor license that's not going to be an active participant in the business. It's called the straw purchase, and both the ATF and state people that deal with the guidelines for that say that can't happen. Mary was very candid to me. I asked her if she's involved with the bar in De Pere, or if she was going to have any involvement in the bar in Green Bay. Both of those are no's. So she's applied for the liquor license in Green Bay, or excuse me, in De Pere. They granted it. And then what ended up happening was I went there at the request of Captain Laux to go and see what type of calls for service or how many calls for service. And that's when I got the document that showed 54 calls for service. Now, when we went and met with Mary, I went and met with Mary at the venue that they have in Green Bay. What ended up happening was she said that there were a couple calls for service at the establishment in De Pere. And when I told her it was 54 calls for service, she couldn't believe that. So now let's just get something straight. Not every one of those 54 calls are attributed to that bar. But if 2/3 of them are attributed to that bar for whatever reason, that's a significant amount of calls, and that's resources that the city of Green Bay on a busy Friday or Saturday summer night can't afford to use up for calls for service.
Questions for Officer? Alderman Stoyer?
Sorry. No, thank you, officer, for coming in on this. Many times we'll get a list where we have, multiple offenses, so to speak, and I'm glad you did mention that, some of them might have been because the general area that it's in. A lot of times I think we look at the severity of some of these as well. So I was just trying to get a handle on it. I mean, there were like crime prevention, traffic stop, assisting motorists, things on that order. I try to sift through those. And you made this comment that you thought like 2/3 of them could be. I haven't had a chance to really study that a lot, but I guess it does concern me that, and I do want to hope, if Mary's here, I hope to hear from her as well, but I'd like to just understand why you would get a liquor license and not be there. It just doesn't seem, what's that? Yeah, anyway, I just wanted to make sure that,
She told me because it would be easier for her to get the liquor license than it would be for her grandson.
okay. All right, well, that's good for me right now, thank you.
Anything, Alderman Scannell?
No, I think I understand where you're coming from. Appreciate
Okay.
the work you did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, without
I'll make a
objections.
motion, open the
Okay,
floor.
Motion by
Second.
Alderman Stoyer, second by Alderman Scannell to open the floor. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. If anyone else is here for this item, please come up, give us your name and address.
You can.
Yep,
all
just come up to the
up.
podium and give us your name and address and
Hi, I'm Robert Younger, the person you guys are talking about. 54 calls.
Your
Can I
address.
just get your address, please,
address.
Robert?
It's 3491 Arts Lane.
Thank you.
in DP, Wisconsin 54115.
Thanks.
Okay.
A lot of the 54 calls that he's talking about, we hold a whole parking lot in Buddha's, it's called Nicolay Square, for all 9 or 10 bars that are in that area. So anytime there's a call to that area, people say outside of Buddha's or they say in front of Buddha's or whatever. That's how we get so many calls there. I work hand in hand with the local police department there all the time. We very seldom have any issues inside of that bar or outside of that bar due to anybody on our behalf. Just on Halloween night, there was 3 calls. One kid we would not let in the bar because he didn't have an ID. He called the officers 3 times that night, so that's probably 3 calls, and just stuff like that we prevent. When we get an underager that gives us a fake ID, we call and have the officers come, and either ticket them or, so a lot of them calls are good calls. They're not all bad calls. I don't think I've ever had, in the 2 years that we've been over there, in the 2 years that we've been over there, I don't think we've even had a fight or an altercation that we had to call the officers to come. Maybe outside there's been altercations, but that doesn't all stem from our bar. It comes from everybody walking from them bars back to the original cars or their locations.
Okay.
And Mary does have a lot to do with this business. She is hand in hand with me working in this business. She wouldn't just get a liquor license for me to walk away and say, here you go. It's like,
No, I trust him to.
Ma'am, could I just get your name and address, please? for the record?
Mary Besaw, 3412 South Clay,
Thank you.
Okay.
54301.
Okay.
No, there's been, like I said, I was surprised at the amount of calls because he's told me about these situations, or we went to meet with the people in De Pere one time because somebody was complaining about cigarette butts that were in the back. We have security, you have garbage cans for that kind of stuff, but it's the whole block that has that whole parking lot. So anybody called there, seems to be that address, I don't know. There really hasn't been trouble, and it's right there by that college, so I
And that's another thing. I mean, a lot of the other bars, if you were to look up the calls at, say, Baba Louie's or Mixers down the road, they're there every night, and that's their own location. Every night on the weekends, they're almost there. So, I mean, we work hand in hand with the police as much as we possibly can there to try to eliminate any issues or problems. I've met with the police chief on any issues they've had about neighbors complaining about cigarette butts, garbage, any of that stuff we've cleaned up, and we work with them very well.
Alderman Stoyer, do you have a question?
Well, if we can tie this in as well.
Sure.
I mean, so we're looking at the police calls and, we're taking that into account, what you just said.
Understand that.
We understand that.
Uh-huh.
But then we also have it sounded like the denial that you folks gave was on this as well, but did you also give the denial because of the record as well?
Correct.
Could you explain a little more about that? We're just gonna listen, and then
Sure. So in talks with Officer Matheny, it became apparent that that Robert has more, I guess, management control over the bar, which is why we did run his criminal record. And again, Officer Matheny stated that the reason Mary applies for the liquor license is because it probably would be more difficult for Robert to get one. So I think it's appropriate for the committee to also consider, as if he were getting his own liquor license, consider his criminal record as part of that.
Well, I guess one of the concerns I have, and Mary, I appreciate, you sticking with Robert on some of this. I mean, you feel he's upright, et cetera. But I have a concern for, if you get the liquor license for him, in essence, that's something that I have an issue with. And we can discuss more about that, but we do also look at the record itself, and like anything else, we have looked at second chances, but then again, we have to look at all the details here. And if you could, Robert, I don't know if you could explain, some of the older ones, you've got 1998, 2001, it's like a hit and run, worthless checks in 1998, 2002, vehicle operator fleeing, 2006. We got two fairly recent, 2013, 2012. I don't know if you can explain those to us. You have sex with child age 16 or older, intimidating witness, etc. I don't know if you can clarify some of that for us.
Those were dismissed by a disgruntled employee. I also own a construction company. And I had a 17-year-old babysitter that babysat for us. And when I terminated him, he lived right next door to my house. And in retaliation, the babysitter got in trouble with her parents and she needed a place to stay, so I let her stay at my house. And she still had to go to school and everything. So he had called the police and told, after I had terminated him, I told the police that I was sleeping with my 17-year-old babysitter, which was absolutely untrue. And it got dismissed. You can look it up on the thing. But maybe I handled it a little wrong with him, which stemmed from the intimidation of the witness charge.
You were frustrated, obviously, but
Right.
it was just one of those.
I mean, I can contest. I don't have the best record in the world. I'm a business person. That's all I do is I run businesses. I run a construction company. I run that other bar. I'm very hands-on with business. I have a degree in business management. I have a degree in political science. I am very motivated. I'm not going to open or help Mary open Four Seasons, not Four Seasons, it'll be Buddha's, but and let it go down the drain. That's not my goal. I mean, that's a big investment for both of us that we don't want to see happen or lose.
All right, well, okay, well, I just needed to hear that. So anyway, I have no more questions at this time.
I got a few.
Alder Scanlon,
If you don't mind. Can you jump in?
go for it.
I'm taking the plunge.
Please do.
Why are you applying for the license instead of, why isn't Robert applying?
Just because of those reasons, he didn't think he'd get it with his
Right. And she
background. And
she helps me out with the other bar too, so
Yeah.
it's just a little bit easier. She does the taxes and some stuff, but we have an accountant, but helps with all the other stuff.
Well,
Paperwork done.
okay. I have no other questions, comments for later.
So, thank you, Mrs. Bisod. Your involvement is just going to be with taxes, is that?
well,
The whole bar running aspect, I mean, she helps with everything, but I mean, she does most of the paperwork and the taxes and stuff with the accountant and stuff like that.
I'm just curious why you would tell Officer Matheny that the only reason you're doing this, is, why would you say that?
that I get all the paperwork to my house and give it to the accountant. That's all I have to do with that, really. I don't figure out the taxes or anything else.
As far as your involvement, I mean,
As far as my involvement,
sounds like it'll be minimal.
he's grandson, and I'm just trying to help him out. That's it in a nutshell. I trust him. Like I said, I've not had any problem come back to me from the bar in De Pere that I have the liquor license for. So I didn't think there would be a problem with this. It was a simple procedure to get the license in De Pere. And I understand police calls. I read the paper all the time, and I know what can happen. I know how scary it is, really, to have your name on it.
When did you get your license in De Pere?
It was about 2 years ago.
So, 2013 maybe?
Sure.
believe so.
I don't know.
13 and a half.
I know the people he has
13
working
and a
for
half,
him,
Any other questions?
How's,
Alderman Steuer?
not right now, all's good.
Okay. Anything else? Any other comments you wanted to add?
No, I don't think so.
If we have more questions, we can.
We can call you back.
pardon me?
We can call you back.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else here for this item? Certainly. Yep. Just come up. Name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Barbara Dorf. I live at 3375 Pebble Beach Court. I'm only speaking to Rob's character as I know it. Rob has been dating my daughter for about the last year. He's been over at our house quite a bit. He's just a very nice and helpful young man. And I don't know everything about his checkered past. I have looked him up on CCAP, which I'm sure he's not surprised to know. So of course I had some concerns when he began dating my daughter, but what I see is a very kind and generous and very, very hardworking young man. He has been with Cassie over at that bar, fixing it up, working hard, hours upon hours upon hours. And so I just want to say that I have never seen personally anything that would cause me any concern about Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barbara.
Thanks. Anyone else? All right.
Motion to close the floor.
Motion by Alderman Steuer.
Second.
by Alderman Scannell to close the floor. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Alderman
I
Steuer,
guess
your question?
the question I had for both legal and police, in your experience over time, have you ever seen a situation like this where somebody would apply for a liquor license in lieu of somebody else supposedly they should get it? I don't know if I worded it quite right. But have you seen something like this where somebody has come forward to get a liquor license that necessarily they shouldn't do it, that other person should be doing it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I don't know if I
I
can
have
remember.
one other case, Alderman.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a very complicated situation where they were married at one point in time, and she introduced the gentleman as her business partner. She was applying for the liquor license. The business partner, which is actually her ex-husband, had a couple of alcohol convictions on his record. So it never came out that they were never as candid as Mary has been to me and is forthcoming with the information. But I saw a straw purchase in that type of situation as well. So that's the only other experience that I've had with it. Otherwise, it's usually the person that's applying for the liquor license is the person that's gonna either manage the business or own the business or, along those lines.
And if I could, I think Officer Matheny is correct when typically we probably just don't know about it if it's happening.
Right.
Here, we're lucky enough that obviously Mary's been very candid with Officer Matheny, which I appreciate. Also, we have an example of a bar that they're currently running where, we happen to know that Mary doesn't have much involvement, and it's more Robert that probably should be applying for the license. So I think we're in kind of a unique situation here where we're kind of aware of what's going on.
Mhm.
And again, that's to their credit, but at the same time, we have to pursue those avenues as well, so.
Okay. That's all I have right now.
Well,
We can open it again, but we're just.
Yeah.
I make a motion to deny. I mean, I appreciate your honesty, but to go against federal and state law, we can't do that. And I think you're mistaken about your chances of possibly getting a liquor license if you applied yourself. I mean, the state law states that if you have a felony conviction, we cannot grant you a liquor license if it relates. And your last felony was in 2002. So we often look at the time differential, and that was over a decade ago. And with all the testimonials here and everything, I think you stand a pretty good chance of getting it. We should do this right.
That was my.
And we should not be doing an end around and breaking federal and state laws. So, and your explanation for all the calls, I think, is fairly valid. I think you have a strong case. I can't guarantee you'd get it, but I think to assume you wouldn't is off the mark. And we certainly can't break federal and state law like this. No, I'm sorry. There's
a
no.
motion to deny. Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Second. Alderman
I
Steuer.
mean, I mean, Randy brings up some good points, and I'm just wondering is this something that if it's denied tonight, that he could come back soon on his own?
We haven't denied him anything.
No, I'm just saying if it is denied tonight.
That would be my question, is if I
There
could.
there could be a
That's-
reapplication, certainly with a
Right.
different manager listed, or different
Right.
title.
That's what I was asking.
Not manager, owner of the license,
When
and
is the
certainly.
next meeting?
Well, depending on what happens
what-
here,
yeah, we
our
gotta-
recommendation goes to the city council in
February 2nd.
February 2nd, thank you.
And our next protection and welfare meeting is the 25th of February, I believe.
Yeah, so that would be the earliest you could reapply, should you choose to do that. Now, Under discussion,
yeah.
I agree. I think the way it's set up now, is just asking for trouble, and it's not legal, first of all. And secondly, if you were to reapply, I would want more detailed information definitely on these calls. Hopefully we can get more.
To ask the council some question regarding that, I did talk to some peer officers on the side. That's probably gonna have to be something, if we're gonna have information provided on the calls for service, we're gonna have to get a hold of an agent from the De Pere Police
Right.
Department and have them come in and give, if that's the chief of police or whoever he designates,
That'd be
I
fine.
would,
that's how we're gonna have
I
to.
would prefer to welcome
Because,
that. I mean, I
well,
would love to-
one moment, sir. And I agree, I think right now we have the whole straw man issue. However, the second very important issue is also the calls. I mean, it's one thing to say they're not related to the bar, but, I really want to see that they're not, or hear that they're not.
I would second Alderman Scannell as well on that point, on that motion. I second it.
Now,
Yeah.
did anyone want to speak again before we vote? Because we can open the floor.
I just had the question if I can apply on my own. I was always under the assumption because I had a felony that I was unable to get it, so.
Well,
I can
And without
reply,
getting too much into, yes, you can.
And then, I can also bring a couple of my friends who are officers in De Pere with me. Maybe they can speak about it.
along with any,
Yeah. Also, that De Pere granted
Letters.
you your liquor license, and De Pere kind of speaks well for you. I mean, you've got a lot in your corner. So, I'm not going to say it's
Without,
a shoe-in.
Unless we want to open the
There-
floor, we'll bring it back up here.
yeah.
Okay.
I second the motion.
Alderman Enig, is this in your district?
Yes, it is.
Do you have any way in
I
there?
didn't really have any information. It sounds like the committee members had more than I did, so I really didn't.
You all right with the direction we're headed right now?
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Those in favor of denial?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right. Goes to council next week, and then, assuming what council does, they'll most likely deny it, but you can appeal it there if you want, otherwise reapply, up to you. All right, thanks. Thanks, officer.
Yep, thank you very much.
Good?
Good, thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Number 5, request by the owner of St. Brendan's Inn, 234 South Washington, to hold outdoor events March 12th, 13th, 17th. Attorney, Captain?
No objection.
There's
Police
pretty good
Department has
luck.
no objections.
St. Brendan's always pretty good events, never any issues. So.
I believe one of them was the cancer, the shaving of the head.
Looks like this one.
I did mine early.
Okay.
Yeah, I donated early.
Yeah,
Mine's more natural.
Is anyone here for St. Brendan's?
yeah.
Do we have any questions?
Shouldn't be order, I move to approve.
Motion by Alderman
Second.
Scannell, second by Alderman Stoyer. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Alderman Scannell, second by Alderman Stoyer. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Aye. We're out. Thank you.
I wish.
You guys run a clean ship. Good job. Makes it easy on us.
Anyway, well,
I'm sure we'll see the other one again. So
Are you going to-
more detail.
I'm going to go to planning today too.
Well, I think planning's already done, there wasn't much there, but I want to go
No,
to
it's at
finance.
6. It's at 6.
That was
Planning starts at 5:15, I thought.
Yeah.
It says 6 o'clock.
No, that's
January 25th, Monday.
minutes.
all right. It's not 5 minutes, so we'll take it.
Right, not
And
bad.
then that other one is where it was.
We don't have pens.
Oh, okay.
Oh, look at that.
We'll see. Are you?